NBA players are admired for their talent, fame, and fortune. They're also role models, especially for young athletes. Sadly, some NBA players have not used their platform wisely. Others have gone so far as to do truly horrible things and not only put their careers at stake, but their lives as well. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the very worst. NBA players who committed murder. Though extremely rare, believe it or not, it's happened more than once. Keep watching to learn about NBA players who are killers. Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton was a first-round draft pick in 2007. He was selected by the Los Angeles Lakers with the 19th overall pick. Javaris had just finished his freshman year of college playing for Georgia Tech. According to his college coaches, Javaris was the team leader, even though he was one of the youngest players on the Division I team. Everyone was so impressed with Javaris that it was suggested he go pro after just 1 year. Being picked by the Lakers meant Javaris would be traveling to California for the first time in his life. He grew up in Atlanta, and up to that point, his entire basketball career and life had been spent in the state of Georgia. Now, Javaris was introduced to a whole new world. He'd become a famous basketball star and was suddenly living in the most star-studded city on earth. But LA isn't just where celebrities throw pool parties, it's also a hub for gang violence. Javaris was just 20 years old when he moved out to LA, and unfortunately, he made the mistake of getting involved with gangs. He joined the Crips, one of the oldest and most feared street gangs in the country. It sounds crazy, but we can be fairly sure it really happened. It wasn't just a rumor. This was according to the Fulton County DA's office. But the worst is yet to come. It wasn't until 2011, playing in the NBA for 4 years, that Javaris Crittenton became a killer. That year, both he and his cousin went back to Atlanta and attempted to kill a member of the Bloods named Trontavious Stevens. The attack went wrong. Instead of shooting Trontavious, Javaris shot a 22-year-old woman named Julian Jones. Jones died in the hospital later that evening. Javaris was arrested not long after the incident. At first, he denied any involvement. A $230,000 bail was posted, which Javaris paid easily. This marked the end of Javaris' basketball career. But amazingly, he was out on bail for a few more years while awaiting his trial. Then, Javaris got arrested once again, this time on drug charges. Finally, in 2015, Javaris appeared in court. Rather than go through a long trial that he knew he couldn't win, Javaris chose to plead guilty to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison, and that's where he remains today. Jayson Williams. Jayson Williams played in the NBA for 10 years, first on the 76ers and then on the New Jersey Nets. He's often confused with another Jayson Williams, who's more well known. The two played around the same time, but they were never teammates. And while the more famous Jayson Williams was a small point guard known for passing, the less famous Jayson Williams was a 6'10" big man known for his Rodman-like rebounding skills. Williams was selected in the first round of the 1990 NBA draft. His career as a power forward and center started off rocky. Williams only started 12 games during his first 3 years in the NBA, but after getting traded to New Jersey, he began to find his rhythm. Eventually, he made the All-Star team in 1998 for the first and only time. During his NBA career, Williams was accused of multiple serious crimes. He allegedly smashed a mug of beer over someone's head at a bar. Williams was also accused of firing a gun in a New Jersey parking lot. However, he was never charged for any of this. On April 1st, 1999, the Nets were playing in Atlanta. Williams collided with guard Stephon Marbury and broke his leg. This horrible injury sent Williams straight into emergency surgery. The surgery went as well as it could, but sadly, this marked the end of Williams' basketball career. This sudden shift in his life started a downward spiral for Williams. He began abusing alcohol. Then in 2002, tragedy struck. Williams was hosting a party, which included many of the Harlem Globetrotters. The party was held at Williams' estate. During the party, a limousine driver named Gus Christophe was shot and killed on Williams' property. As it turned out, Williams had been given a tour of his home while playing with the shotgun. The gun had accidentally fired, and through sheer bad luck, it struck the driver. While this is clearly different from Javaris Crittenton, as Williams had no intention of killing anybody, the result was still a very serious crime. Williams made things much worse by initially trying to cover up the shooting, even though there were several witnesses. In the end, Williams was convicted of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but released after just 27 months. However, Williams didn't actually go to prison until years after the shooting. The shooting happened in February of 2002, but Williams wasn't sentenced until February 2010. It's not obvious why it took so long. All we know is that the trial was delayed multiple times. We also know that Williams was able to post his bail right away. You'll see this is the case with pretty much any NBA player that gets arrested for any reason. It's no surprise, considering the NBA's minimum salary is $500,000, and most players make many times more than that. The fact that Jayson Williams was out on bail for 8 years is significant, as he committed several other crimes during that time period. In 2009, Williams was tased by police after being intoxicated and violent at a hotel in New York City. Just a month after that, Williams was in North Carolina and got in an altercation with a man at a bar. Williams punched the man in the face and was charged with assault, but then the assault charges were dropped. Williams was also arrested for driving under the influence in 2010. he had crashed his Mercedes into a tree in New York City. After seeming to try just about everything he could think of, the authorities finally said, okay, fine, we'll put you in jail. But as I mentioned earlier, Williams didn't stay in jail for as long as you might expect. He was released in 2012 and has since made an inspiring effort to turn his life around. Williams got sober and recently published a book about his experiences. Mookie Blaylock. Deron O'Shea Blaylock, better known by his nickname Mookie, is a 6-foot point guard who played on several teams in the 90s. He even managed to make the All-Star game in 1994. Mookie had multiple accomplishments in his playing career that were noteworthy. He's one of the only 5 players in NBA history to lead the league in steals for 2 years in a row. The others are Allen Iverson, Chris Paul, Alvin Robertson, and Magic Johnson. He's also the Atlanta Hawks all-time leader in three-pointers made, even to this day. He grew up in Garland, Texas, part of the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Like most future NBA players, Blaylock dominated his high school basketball league, earning himself a spot on the starting roster at the University of Oklahoma, where he led the team all the way to the NCAA title game in 1988. The following year, Mookie declared for the NBA draft. The New Jersey Nets picked him 12th overall, and they immediately put Mookie to work. However, his career didn't fully blossom until he was traded to Atlanta in 1992. Under head coach Lenny Wilkens, Mookie became one of the best team's players. He spent the bulk of his career in Atlanta before being traded to the Golden State Warriors in 1999. Mookie never won a championship, but he did find an unusual amount of attention and fame, not just for his excellent play, but also for his distinctive name. The rock band Pearl Jam originally wanted to call themselves Mookie Blaylock, but were told they couldn't, probably for legal reasons. Mookie's name has also been referenced in a number of novels, TV shows, and rap songs. Blaylock retired from the NBA in 2002 after a 13-year career. It wasn't until over a decade later that his story took a tragic turn. During the summer of 2013, Mookie, now in his 40s, was driving his Cadillac Escalade on the outskirts of Atlanta on a road called Terra Boulevard. Mookie was driving with a suspended license. He'd been charged with several DUIs. He was sober on this particular day, but that didn't stop him from causing a horrific accident. Mookie ran head-on into a minivan which contained Frank and Monica Murphy. Everyone was injured. Mookie was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but he soon recovered. Unfortunately, Monica Murphy was killed in the accident. Mookie was charged with vehicular manslaughter. In simple terms, this means murder with a car by accident, which is exactly what happened. Mookie was sentenced to 15 years in prison, and he's still serving his sentence today. Mookie's downfall was tragic news that spread far around the basketball world. The question on everyone's mind was, how could something like this happen? Mookie was a standout NBA star with a clean reputation, and now suddenly, he was getting DUIs and killing people with his car. Something didn't add up. On further investigation, it turns out Mookie actually had a history of drunk driving. As early as 1995, Mookie had been pulled over while drunk. On one occasion in 2010, police stopped Mookie on the road and gave him a breathalyzer test. The results were shocking. Mookie's blood alcohol level was 4 times the legal limit. For a man his size, Mookie would have had to consume well over a dozen drinks for this to be possible. Mookie was also being treated for seizures at the time of his accident. In total, Mookie Blaylock had been pulled over for drunk driving 7 times before the accident, which killed Monica Murphy. This outraged many people in the community who felt that Mookie should have been forced to stop driving long before the tragedy occurred. Had he been a normal person instead of a beloved basketball player, many felt he would have received different treatment from law enforcement, and Monica Murphy might still be alive today.